The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that feels like a power outage in the middle of a movie, like the room is holding its breath because it knows what's coming next. My phone sat on the kitchen table, face up, the screen dark, the last 3 messages I'd sent still sitting there like wet paper. You okay? Call me when you can. Just tell me you're safe. All day, nothing. No busy, no meeting ran long, no stupid emoji to make it look casual. At 10:58 p.m., I stopped pretending I wasn't staring at the front door. At 11:03, I heard her heels in the hallway outside our apartment. Sharp taps that never rushed, never hesitated. The doorknob turned like it had all the time in the world. Lila walked in carrying the smell of cold air and expensive perfume. Her hair was perfect, which told me everything I needed to know about her day. She dropped her purse on the counter with a soft thud. Then she looked at me, actually looked, and that little smile crawled across her mouth like a slow leak. You know what I did? She said. I didn't answer. I was sitting at the table with a bowl of reheated pasta, eating like it was any other Tuesday. Fork, chew, swallow, calm. My hands didn't shake because I'd already done all my shaking earlier when I was alone. She took a step closer, like she expected to see fear. I spent the night with my boss, she said, savoring each word, and I'd do it again. The faucet in the sink dripped once, twice. The building's heat clicked on and sighed through the vent. Normal sounds, normal world. Her sentence didn't belong in it, but it sat there anyway. I nodded, still chewing. That confused her. It wasn't the reaction she'd ordered. She crossed her arms. That's it? I swallowed. You said you would, I replied. Lila's smile sharpened. What? You think I'm joking? I'm not. I'm done playing nice. I'm done pretending you're... Enough. She said enough like it tasted bad. I set my fork down carefully. Not because I was afraid I'd throw it, but because I'd learned a long time ago that anything in your hands can become evidence if someone wants it to. I'm not going to fight you, I said. Her eyes narrowed. You won't do anything. I looked up at her then. Not angry, not begging, just looking. I'm still eating, I said. That's something. She laughed, loud and cruel. Then she pulled her phone out, tapped it twice, and held it up so I could see the screen. A new contact photo. Her in a mirror selfie. Lipstick sharp. The kind she never wore for me. Grant says you're predictable, she said. He says you're the kind of man who stays. There it was. The setup. The whole performance wasn't just for me. It was for an audience I couldn't see. Lila leaned down, close enough that her perfume hit the back of my throat. Say something, she whispered. Give me a reason. I could feel it then. Her attention, hungry and careful. Like she was listening for the right line so she could replay it later. I smiled, small and tired. Good night, Lila, I said. Her face twitched. It wasn't anger, it was irritation, like a door that won't slam properly. She straightened. Sleep on the couch, she said, if you're still here in the morning. Then she walked past me, down the hall, and the bedroom door shut with a quiet final click. I kept eating, but the pasta had turned to sand. And in the glow of the kitchen light, with my phone still silent, I realized what she really wanted. She wanted a story where I was the villain, and she was going to record it. She woke up at 7:12 a.m. like she always did, the alarm on her phone chirping like a polite bird. I heard it through the wall. I heard her stretch. I heard her yawn. I was already dressed. I'd slept on the couch, sure, but not because she told me to, because I didn't trust my own breathing in that bed anymore. The kettle didn't whistle. The coffee machine didn't gurgle. I didn't make breakfast. I didn't do the little rituals that had been keeping our marriage propped up like a cheap shelf. Instead, I sat at the table with a folder. Paper. Real paper. The kind she called dramatic and old man energy. The kind I kept because digital things can be edited, but ink is stubborn. At 7:26, Lila walked into the kitchen in one of my old shirts, like she owned it. She rubbed her eyes and looked straight to the counter, expecting a mug. She stopped when she saw the folder. What is that? She asked. Coffee's not happening, I said. Her mouth pulled into a pout that she probably thought was cute. Seriously? Because I hurt your feelings? I'm not doing feelings this morning, I said. I tapped the folder once. This is logistics. She came closer. Her gaze flicked to my phone on the table, then back to me. That same careful attention. Her thumb twitched near her own phone like she wanted to press record again. Divorce papers? She said, almost laughing. You can't be serious. I'm serious, I said. She picked up the top sheet, scanned it, and let out a short bark of laughter. You think you can just throw me out? I'm not throwing you out, I said. I'm moving myself out of the lie. She tossed the papers back down. You don't have proof, she said. And even if you did, so what? It's not 1950. People cheat. People move on. She stepped around the table like she was circling prey. You know what Grant told me, she said. He told me you're too scared to be alone, that you'll take whatever I give you because you don't have options. I opened the folder and slid a single sheet toward her. It wasn't divorce paperwork, it was our lease. I'd been the one who signed it. She'd insisted it was a vibe breaker to add her name. I'd argued for exactly 6 minutes, then let it go because I loved her and because, back then, I was stupid in the hopeful way. Now I tapped the line where my name sat alone. Your name isn't on it, I said. It never was. She blinked. Then she smiled again, but it came slower this time. You're not serious, she repeated softer. I already talked to the landlord, I said. I'm the tenant. I'm the one legally responsible. If you want to stay here, you can negotiate that with him. Her eyes hardened. You talked to him without me? Like you talked to Grant without me, I said. For a second, the room went quiet except for the hum of the fridge. Her gaze darted to my face, searching for heat, for some ugly flare she could capture. I gave her nothing. You can't just lock me out, she said. I won't, I replied. Not without notice. I'm not committing a crime because you wanted a thrill. She scoffed and turned away, pretending she didn't care, but her shoulders were tight. Then she did something small that told me everything. She opened our cabinet and took out her favorite mug, the one that said Boss Lady in gold letters. She held it like a weapon. You're bluffing, she said. I reached into the folder and pulled out another sheet. A bank printout. My personal checking account. Separate, always separate. The direct deposit that had been keeping us afloat when her job went between opportunities 3 months ago. I changed my deposit, I said. Effective today. She stared at it. You can't just... It's my paycheck, I said. It goes where I say it goes. Her cheeks flushed. So you're going to punish me financially. I'm going to stop funding you, I said. There's a difference. Lila's hand tightened on the mug. She didn't throw it. That would be messy. It would be evidence. Instead, she smiled, bright and poisonous. Fine, she said. Go ahead. Do your little paperwork tantrum. She leaned in and lowered her voice. You still won't do anything that matters, she whispered, because you're not that guy. Then she turned and walked back down the hall, already tapping her phone. As she disappeared, my phone buzzed once, finally. Unknown number. Hey, man, this is weird, but I think you should see something. My stomach went cold. I stared at the unknown number until my eyes watered. Then I typed, Who is this? A second later, the reply came. It's Owen. Parking security at 1810 Broad. You don't know me, but I know you. Sorry. 1810. Broad was Grant's building. High-rise glass, executive parking, the kind of place with a lobby that smelled like money. I typed again, Why are you texting me? 3 dots. Then, because your wife made it my business. A photo arrived. Grainy, angled, taken through a security monitor. It showed a woman stepping out of a black SUV in a parking garage. She wore a coat I recognized. She hugged a man in a suit and then pressed her mouth to his like it was a celebration. The timestamp was from last night. 9:41 p.m. My throat tightened, but my hands stayed steady. I zoomed in. Lila's profile, Grant's watch, his wedding band, flashing like a warning. A second photo came, closer this time. My wife laughing, her hand on his chest like she belonged there. Then a third, Grant swiping his access card, the elevator doors swallowing them. I sat back, the chair creaking under my weight. The phone buzzed again. Owen. I thought you already knew. She was talking loud, like she wanted people to hear. I stared at that line. I thought you already knew. My face heated, not with rage, but with humiliation so sharp it felt like a cut. I typed, Why are you sending this to me? Owen. Because she filmed you in the lobby once, a couple weeks ago. You walked in with flowers. She laughed with him about how easy you are. I didn't like it. Another message followed. Owen. Also, he's not untouchable. People think he is. He's not. I read that twice. Then I typed, What do you mean? Owen. Company's been sniffing around him for months. Complaints, discretionary funds. HR hates him, but he's protected, until he's not. I stared at my kitchen wall, at the cheap paint we'd argued about, at the spot where Lila had hung framed photos of our life, like it was a real thing and not a showroom display. In the hall, I heard her on the phone, laughing softly, the laugh she used when she wanted someone to feel chosen. I stood up, walked to the sink, and let the cold water run over my hands like I was washing off something sticky. Then I turned the water off and opened my contacts. My lawyer's name sat there, saved from the last time I'd helped a coworker get out of a bad contract. I hadn't called him because I didn't believe in divorce. I called him because I believed in reality. By 9:10 a.m., I was sitting in a modest office 3 blocks from downtown, listening to a man named Samir Patel explain my own life back to me. He wasn't dramatic, he wasn't sympathetic, he was efficient, which is the only kind of kindness that matters when your world is on fire. "So," Patel said, flipping through my papers, "your wife admits adultery and you have evidence. Good, but adultery isn't a magic button, this is still a process." "I don't want to burn her," I said. Patel raised an eyebrow. "You're here." "I want to get out," I clarified, without doing anything illegal, without giving her ammo. He leaned back. "She's recording you?" I told him about her baiting, the way she'd asked me to say something, the way her eyes kept checking her phone like it was a mirror. Patel nodded once. "Smart. Don't give her a scene. Keep everything written. And do not change locks without proper notice unless you have a court order. If she's on the lease, you can't just remove her. You said she's not." "She's not," I said. "Then you still need to follow local tenant rules," he replied. "But your position is stronger." He slid a legal pad across the desk. On it, he wrote 3 words in block letters. Document, distance, deadline. "Do you have joint accounts?" he asked. "One joint savings," I said, "and shared credit card. I'm the primary. Stop using the joint account. Move your direct deposit. Cancel shared card. Don't max it out. Don't do anything stupid. Just cancel. If she needs money, you can arrange temporary support later, through lawyers, not through guilt." I nodded. Patel looked at me for a long moment. "One more thing," he said. "If her affair partner is her boss and you plan to expose that, do it clean. Don't threaten. Don't extort. Do not make it transactional." "I'm not going to ask for anything," I said. "Good," he said. "Then you're just reporting misconduct. That's legal. And if he retaliates, that becomes another problem for him." He tapped the photos Owen had sent me. "This is useful. Keep the originals, and don't confront him alone." I wasn't planning to, I lied, and Patel saw right through me. He sighed. "If you do, keep it public. Keep it calm. Let him be the one who loses control." That last line stuck in my head as I walked out into the cold December air. Let him be the one who loses control. On the sidewalk, my phone buzzed again. It was Lila. "Lila, where are you?" A second later, "Lila, are you running to your little therapist?" Then, "Lila, Grant says if you try anything, you'll regret it." I stared at her messages until the screen dimmed. Then I typed 1 sentence and sent it. "Me. I'll be home at noon to pick up my things. Please don't contact me except by text. I didn't add more. I didn't explain. I didn't plead. I let the silence do the work." When I got back to the apartment at 11:58, Lila was already waiting in the living room like she'd dressed for court. Perfect hair, clean makeup, soft sweater, the reasonable wife costume. Her phone sat on the coffee table, screen up, camera lens pointed toward the couch. It wasn't subtle. It was a dare. "You're really doing this," she said, voice light. I walked past her and into the bedroom. Half my clothes were still in the closet. She hadn't touched them. She probably expected a screaming match before lunch. I pulled out a suitcase and started packing. "You know," she called from the doorway, "if you leave, that says a lot about you." I didn't answer. "I'll tell people you abandoned me," she continued. "I'll tell them you couldn't handle it, so you ran." I folded shirts, jeans, socks, the quiet rhythm of leaving. Lila stepped into the room. I could see her in the mirror, her mouth set in a thin smile. "Say it," she said softly. "Say I'm a terrible person. Say you hate me. Give me something." I glanced at the phone in the living room through the doorway. "No," I said, her eyes flashed. "Why not?" "Because you want it," I replied. For a second, she looked like she might slap me. Then she caught herself. Again, clean hands, no bruises, no stories she couldn't control. Instead, she laughed. "You think you're so smart," she said, "but you're just quiet. That's not strength. That's weakness." I zipped the suitcase and lifted it. My shoulders ached, but it felt good. A physical pain I could name. I walked out. Lila followed. At the door, I paused and looked back at the kitchen table. The lease folder still sat there, open like a confession. Lila stepped beside me. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To a friend's," I said. She snorted. "You don't have friends." I opened the door. "Grant's taking me to brunch," she added, louder, like she wanted the neighbors to hear. "We're not hiding anymore." I turned and met her eyes. "You never were," I said. Then I left. In the hallway, my phone buzzed with another text from Owen. Owen. He parks on level B, black SUV. Plate ends 7K2. If you ever need to find him, that's where. I stared at the message. I hadn't asked Owen for that, but it felt like the city itself was giving me a map, and I realized something else, something ugly and honest. I wasn't leaving because I wanted peace. I was leaving because I needed room to plan. I slept on my friend Mark's couch that night. Mark didn't ask questions. He just handed me a beer and put on a game, like he could drown my life in crowd noise. At 2:11 a.m., when he was snoring in his bedroom, I lay in the dark and made a list in my head. Not a revenge list, a reality list. What did I have? What did she have? What could she take if she decided to get nasty? Lila knew my habits. She knew my weaknesses. She knew the soft parts of me, and she'd learned, over the years, which ones to pinch to make me flinch. But she also had blind spots, big ones. She'd never handled paperwork. She'd never read a contract. She'd never kept a receipt in her life unless it came in a little designer bag. I opened my notes app and typed 1. Keep calm, no scenes. 2. Save every message. 3. Confirm proof sources. 4. Report misconduct cleanly. 5. Control my money. 6. Move my stuff. 7. Set a deadline. 8. Make sure she can't flip the story. I stared at the list until the words blurred. Then my phone buzzed. A new text from Lila, sent at 2:19 a.m. Lila. You up? Another? Lila. Grant wants to talk to you. He says you can be reasonable. And then the one that made my skin crawl. Lila. Don't make me get a restraining order. You know how people believe women. There it was. The plan. Not subtle anymore. I took screenshots, saved them to a folder, emailed them to Patel. Then I turned the phone face down and closed my eyes. In the dark, I imagined her practicing her lines in the mirror, the same way she practiced smiles, and I decided I wasn't going to be the villain in her story. I was going to be the author. At 8:30 the next morning, I walked into my bank. Not the sleek branch downtown with marble floors, the ordinary one by the grocery store where the tellers knew people's names and the security guard always nodded like he'd seen everything. I opened a new account. I rerouted my direct deposit. I canceled the shared credit card. No drama, no speeches, just signatures. When the banker asked, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes," like I was ordering lunch. From there, I drove to a small storage place on the edge of town and rented a unit, month to month, clean. Then I went back to the apartment at 10:15 when I knew Lila would be out. Brunch, gym, whatever performance she was doing that day. I used my key. The lock clicked like normal. Inside, the place looked staged, pillows fluffed, candles lit. A little wreath on the door, because Christmas is easier when it's decorative. I moved fast. I took my documents first. Passport, birth certificate, social security card. The folder Patel had told me to make. Then I took the things that were mine in a way she couldn't claim. My dad's watch, my grandfather's ring, the photo album my mother had made. Objects with history. I didn't destroy anything. I didn't teach her a lesson like some cheap movie. I just removed my life from her reach. As I carried the last box out, my phone buzzed again. Owen. He's in today. Big meeting at 3, executive floor. Then, Owen. If you plan to do something, do it before he locks doors. My hands tightened on the box. I wasn't going to storm an office like a lunatic. But the idea of timing, of choosing the moment, felt like a key sliding into a lock. At noon, I met Patel again. I handed him the screenshots, the photos, the texts. I told him about the parking security guy, about the building. Patel listened, then nodded. I can draft a formal notice and a complaint, he said. HR, board compliance, keep it factual, no threats. What about confronting him? I asked. Patel didn't smile. You want the truth? Confrontations are for movies. But if you need to look him in the eye, do it with witnesses, public place, and you do not touch him. I thought of the parking garage, echoing concrete, security cameras, people coming and going. Public, I said. Patel wrote something down. One more thing, he added. Your wife may try to bait you. If she calls, don't answer. If she shows up, leave. If she blocks your way, call the police politely, like you're reporting a broken streetlight. I nodded. Patel slid a packet across the desk. These are the documents we'll file. You'll sign tomorrow. I picked up the packet, heavier than it looked. On the way out, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Lila, and 1 voicemail from an unknown number. I didn't listen right away. I already knew who it would be. I listened to the voicemail in my car, parked behind a pharmacy where nobody cared if you sat in silence for 10 minutes. A man's voice, smooth and irritated. Caleb, he said, like we were buddies. Like he was calling me from a golf course. This is Grant Hall. Lila told me you're acting emotional. Look, I get it. But let's keep it civilized. You don't want to do anything you can't take back. He paused. A faint clink in the background, ice in a glass. Meet me today. 2:30, 1810, Broad Parking Garage, Level B. We'll talk like men. Like men. My jaw tightened. His voice continued. Bring your sense of perspective, and tell your wife you can stop with the drama. She deserves better than this. The message ended. For a full minute, I sat there with my hands on the steering wheel, breathing through my nose like I was trying to smell something poisonous and name it. He'd picked the place. He'd picked the time. He thought he'd chosen the battlefield. He didn't realize the battlefield had cameras. And it had Owen. I texted Patel. He wants to meet. Parking garage. Level B, 2:30. Patel replied 2 minutes later. If you go, do not go alone. Record audio openly if legal. Stay calm. Leave if threatened. I texted Mark. Need you with me today? 2:30. I'll explain on the way. Mark replied. Dude, what the hell? But yes. I stared at the screen. Then I started the engine. 1810. Broad's parking garage felt like a throat. Concrete levels stacked on concrete levels. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The kind of place where footsteps echo too long, like the building is repeating you back. Mark walked beside me, hands in his jacket pockets, trying to look casual and failing. You sure about this? He murmured. No, I said. That's why you're here. We hit level B and the air changed. Colder, damp. Exhaust hanging like fog. Grant's black SUV sat near the executive elevator, gleaming even under ugly garage lights. It didn't have a speck of salt on it, like it never touched real roads. Grant stood beside it with his arms crossed, suit jacket unbuttoned, the confident posture of a man who thought consequences were for other people. He smiled when he saw me. Then his gaze flicked to Mark. Friend? He asked. Witness, I said. Grant's smile tightened, but he didn't comment. He stepped closer, stopping just out of arm's reach like he knew I'd been taught not to swing. Caleb, he said, extending his hand. I looked at it and didn't take it. Grant let his hand fall, the smile returning like a mask settling. Let's get this over with, he said. You're making things complicated. You made things complicated, I replied. He sighed, like I was a slow student. Look, he said, lowering his voice. Lila's a passionate woman. She gets dramatic, but she cares about stability, about her future. He glanced at Mark again, then back to me. You don't want to ruin her life because your ego's bruised? I laughed once, quiet. My ego? Grant's eyes hardened. Don't play dumb. She told you the truth. You took it like a statue. I was impressed. Mark shifted beside me. I could feel him wanting to speak, but he stayed silent. Grant continued. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign an agreement, you'll move out quietly, you'll stop contacting her, and you'll stop this complaint nonsense. He said complaint like he'd already heard about it, like the walls had ears. And if I don't? I asked. Grant stepped closer. The smell of his cologne was sharp and expensive and wrong. If you don't, he said softly, I can make your life very uncomfortable. I know people. I know how these things go. I know how a man like you gets painted. There it was, the threat. The little knife slipped between ribs. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out my phone. Grant's eyebrows lifted. Recording me? He asked, amused. Just holding it, I said. I don't hide things anymore. I swiped and showed him the photo Owen had sent. Lila's mouth on his. Timestamp. Level B. Grant's face stayed smooth for half a second. Then his eyes flickered. A tiny, involuntary crack. Cute, he said. So you have a picture. What do you want? Money? A car? A job? I want you to stop, I said. Grant laughed, sharper now. Stop what? Living? No, I said. Stop thinking you're safe. He leaned in, voice dropping. Listen, I'm not the problem here. Lila wanted out. She wanted something better. I gave it to her. Mark spoke then, voice low. You're married, right? Grant's head snapped slightly toward him. Mark shrugged. Just asking. Because I see a ring. Grant's hand twitched near his left ring finger. The ring was still there. I'm separated, he said quickly. It was a lie. I could hear it in the speed. I took a step closer, close enough that he had to decide whether to back up. Grant didn't back up. Instead, he did what men like him do when they sense their control slipping. He reached out and grabbed my phone, fast, hard. I didn't yank it back. I let him take it. Because that's what I wanted. His fingers closed around it. His jaw tightened. His eyes flashed. Mark's voice cut through the garage. Hey, hands off. Grant looked at Mark like he was dirt. Then he made a mistake. He shoved me. Not a punch, not a dramatic assault. Just a shove, enough to make me stumble a step. But the shove was on camera, and Owen was watching. I steadied myself and said, loud enough to echo, Do not touch me again. Grant froze. His eyes widened a fraction, like he realized what he'd done. Then he tried to recover, smoothing his suit jacket. Sorry, he said, false and sweet. You startled me. He tossed my phone back at my chest like I was a dog catching a toy. I caught it. Then I did the only physical thing I'd planned. I reached down, unscrewed the cap on his tire valve, and pressed the pin. A soft hiss filled the garage, quiet but unmistakable. Grant stared at me. What are you doing? Letting air out, I said. Not slashing, not damaging, just slowing you down. His face turned red. You can't. I can, I said calmly. It's temporary, like your confidence. Mark let out a low whistle. Grant stepped toward me, fists clenching. I raised my voice, steady. Back up. For a second, I thought he'd hit me anyway. Then, from the shadows, a door opened. Owen appeared at the edge of the level, wearing his security jacket, holding a clipboard like it was armor. Problem here? Owen called. Grant's fists unclenched immediately. His face rearranged itself into a corporate smile. No problem, Grant said. Just a misunderstanding. Owen's gaze moved from Grant to me, a question in his eyes. I nodded once. Owen's voice stayed professional. Sir, if there's a dispute, you'll need to take it off property. Grant's eyes burned holes into my face. As he walked toward the elevator, he muttered something that barely carried, but I heard it anyway. She said you'd stay quiet. He stepped into the elevator and disappeared. The doors shut. The garage felt bigger without him, like the building had exhaled. Mark looked at me. That's it? He asked. No, I said. That was just the first crack. At 4:02 p.m., I sat at Mark's kitchen table and wrote the most boring email of my life. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't vengeful. It didn't use words like betrayal or humiliation. It used words like concern, potential policy violation, and documented timeline. Patel had drafted it. I read it 3 times and removed anything that sounded like a threat. Then I attached evidence, photos, timestamps, screenshots of Lila's texts, a note from Owen confirming the location and time, signed and dated. I sent it to the company's HR compliance address and to a board oversight inbox Patel had found publicly listed. Then I forwarded a copy to myself and to Patel. When I hit send, the room didn't shake. No thunder, no cinematic music, just a quiet click. Mark watched me like I was defusing a bomb. You sure you want to mess with a guy like that? He asked. I'm not messing with him, I said. I'm telling the truth. Mark snorted. Truth messes with people. I checked my phone. 8 missed calls from Lila now. 3 from Grant. I didn't answer. At 6:11, Owen texted again. Owen. HR just came through. 2 people. They went to exec floor. He looked not happy. My stomach tightened. Then my phone rang again. This time a number I recognized. Patel. I answered. You did it, Patel said. Yes, I replied. Good, he said. Now you do nothing. Let the machine work. I stared at the wall, my fingers tapping once on the table. The urge to move, to act, to chase the feeling was strong. Patel's voice sharpened. You hear me? Do nothing. No more confrontations. No messages. If she contacts you, reply once. Calmly. Everything else goes through me. I exhaled. Okay. After I hung up, I sat there for a long moment, listening to Mark's fridge hum. Then the front door to Mark's house rattled. Someone was trying to open it. Mark's eyes widened. What the? The knob shook again, harder. Then Lila's voice came through the wood, bright and angry. Caleb, open up! Mark looked at me like he'd swallowed a rock. I stood up slowly. Patel's words echoed in my head. Do nothing. I walked to the door, stopped with my hand an inch from the knob, and spoke through it. Leave, I said. Lila laughed. Oh my God, are you hiding? Seriously? Leave, I repeated. Her voice dropped, suddenly soft. Caleb, don't do this. Don't make it ugly. I almost smiled. It was already ugly. She just didn't like the angle. Mark whispered, Should I call someone? I nodded. Lila's voice rose again. Grant says you're making a mistake. He says you don't know who you're dealing with. I leaned close to the door. Tell Grant to stop calling, I said, and tell him I kept the footage. Silence. Then a sound like a breath caught. Lila's voice returned, thinner. What footage? I didn't answer. Mark dialed. He kept his voice low when he spoke to dispatch, the way you do when you don't want to invite chaos in. Lila banged once on the door, hard. Caleb, open up. You think you can scare me? I still didn't open it. Outside, her voice shifted to something sharper, something performative. Help, she shouted. He's threatening me. Mark's eyes went wide. I felt my heartbeat thud once, heavy. There it was, the frame job, right on schedule. I pulled my phone out and hit record. Audio only, held openly. Through the door, I said, Calm. Lila, you are at my friend's house. You need to leave. I am recording this conversation. Her voice faltered. Then she hissed, Turn that off. A siren wailed in the distance, growing closer. Lila's footsteps retreated. Then the hallway went quiet. When the police arrived, it was a simple report. Unwanted visitor. No threats, no violence, no drama to harvest. Lila was already gone, but she'd left something behind. A single message, sent at 6:27 p.m. as she walked away. Lila, you think you won. You have no idea what I already set up. I stared at that sentence until my eyes burned. And for the first time, I felt fear, not of her, of how far I was willing to go. Mark kept the porch light on all night, like it could scare off trouble. It didn't. At 9:40 p.m., my phone lit up with a notification from a neighbor in my building, someone I barely knew, the kind of person who only speaks in the elevator when the weather is extreme. Neighbor, your wife is telling people you hit her, just FYI. I read it twice, slow, feeling my ribs tighten around my lungs. I hadn't touched her, not once. But facts don't travel as fast as stories, and Lila knew that. She'd built her whole personality on it. Say it first, say it confidently, and let everyone else do the lazy work of believing you. Mark found me in his kitchen staring at the screen. She posting? He asked. I nodded. He leaned over my shoulder and whistled. Dude, that's bold. On Lila's public story, bright filters, soft music, she'd posted a photo of our apartment door with the caption, When you leave a toxic man, he turns into a stranger. Then another slide, praying for my safety tonight. No bruises, no evidence, just language that sounded like truth if you didn't look too closely. I felt the old heat rise in my chest, the need to correct it, to scream at the internet, to defend myself to people who didn't matter. Patel's voice echoed in my head. Let the machine work. So I did the opposite of what Lila wanted. I documented. I took screenshots of every post, every caption, every timestamp. I saved them in a folder labeled Simple Facts because naming something keeps it from swallowing you. Then I called the non-emergency line and asked for an officer to come by and take a statement. Mark's eyebrows shot up. You sure that's smart? I'm not asking them to arrest her, I said. I'm creating a timeline. When the officer arrived, middle-aged, tired eyes, the look of someone who'd seen every version of human mess, he listened while I played the audio from the porch. Lila shouting, Help! Then immediately hissing, Turn that off! The way her voice changed when she realized she wasn't alone on the record. The officer nodded, expression neutral. You didn't open the door, he said. No, I replied. She left before we got here, he said. Yes. He wrote in his little notebook, the pen scratching like a metronome. Sir, he said, I can't stop someone from posting vague stuff online, but I can note that you requested contact be limited and that you recorded the interaction. He tore off a small card and handed it to me. Incident number 2411983. It looked harmless, like nothing, but it wasn't nothing. It was a nail in the floorboard that keeps a lie from sliding too far. After the officer left, Mark poured 2 beers without asking. "You okay?" he said. I stared at the incident card on the table. "I'm okay," I said. That was also a lie, but it was a useful one. At 11:12 p.m., my phone buzzed again. A message from Lila. "Lila, I'm going to tell them you scared me on purpose. You like watching me panic." I stared at the text, the calculated cruelty of it. Then I replied, once, exactly as Patel had coached me. "Me. Please do not contact me directly. If you need to communicate, contact my attorney, Samir Patel. I will not respond further." I sent it, screenshot, saved. Then I turned my phone off and sat in the dark, listening to Mark's house creak. Somewhere in the city, Lila was writing her version of me. I wasn't going to write back. I was going to footnote her into the ground. Patel met me the next morning with a look that told me he'd slept in his office. "She tried," he said. "Tried what?" I asked, even though I already knew. He slid a printed document across his desk. A petition for a protective order, filed online at 1:12 a.m. In it, Lila claimed I'd been emotionally unstable, that I'd cornered her, that she feared for her safety. No physical violence alleged, because she couldn't. But fear is a flexible thing when people want it to be. Patel tapped the paper. "This is why I told you to keep calm. We'll respond. Your recorded audio at Mark's place helps. The fact she showed up there helps. And her text about knowing people believe women, that helps too." I swallowed. "What happens?" "We file a response," Patel said. "You keep distance, and we file for divorce with the documentation." "And Grant?" I asked. Patel's mouth tightened. HR confirmed they received the complaint. They'll investigate. That can take time. Time. The one thing Lila thought she owned. As I left Patel's office, my phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Lila. I didn't listen. Instead, I drove to my storage unit and sat in the car, staring at the metal door like it could answer questions. I imagined Lila telling people I was unstable, that I'd changed, that I was scary now. Part of me wanted to laugh. Part of me wanted to live up to it. That part was the dangerous one. I texted Owen. "Any update?" He replied fast. Owen. "He got pulled into a conference room yesterday. He left pale. His assistant was crying. Also, saw your wife in the lobby. She was filming again. Filming again." I closed my eyes. Then I opened them and made a decision. If Lila wanted a story, fine. I'd give her one she couldn't edit. I texted Lila at 2:02 p.m. "Me. We need to talk. Neutral place, 5 p.m. Diner on Madison. I'll be there for 20 minutes. I stared at the message before hitting send. It wasn't emotional, it wasn't begging, it was a scheduled appointment. She replied in under a minute. "Lila. Finally. Bring the lease. And don't bring a friend. This is between us." I didn't reply. I forwarded the exchange to Patel. At 4:50, I walked into the Madison Diner and chose a booth that faced the entrance. The place smelled like coffee and fried onions. Families sat in Christmas sweaters, laughing too loud. Normal world again. At 5:03, Lila walked in like she owned the building. She wore a coat that cost more than my first car. Her hair was perfect. Her eyes were bright. She slid into the booth across from me and leaned forward. "Okay," she said. "What's the deal?" I didn't answer right away. I let her feel the silence. Her eyes flicked around the diner like she was checking for hidden cameras. "You didn't bring anyone," she said, almost disappointed. "I'm not here to fight," I said. Lila scoffed. "You keep saying that like it's noble." I reached into my jacket and pulled out a small envelope. I didn't slide it across the table. I just held it. Lila's gaze locked onto it. "What's that?" she asked. "Copies," I said. "Of everything." Her lips parted slightly. "Everything." "Your texts," I said. "Your threats, your confession, the photos in the garage, your attempt at a protective order." Her face tightened. "You don't have—" "I do," I said, calm. Her eyes narrowed. "So what do you want, Caleb? Money? You want me to beg?" "I want you to stop lying," I replied. She laughed, but it sounded forced. "I'm not lying." I leaned forward, just a little. "You said you were done playing wife. So be done. Move out. Don't come to Mark's. Don't file fake petitions. Don't try to frame me." Lila's jaw clenched. "Grant told me you'd try to scare me." I nodded. "He's wrong," I said. "I'm not scaring you. I'm informing you." Her fingers tapped the table. "You think you're in control because you have receipts." I'm in control because I'm not reacting, I said. That hit her. I saw it. Her eyes flashed, and she leaned in close, voice low. You know what I can do to you, she whispered. I can make you the bad guy forever. I can make people look at you like you're dangerous, like you're pathetic, like you're the one who ruined everything. I stared at her for a second, then smiled. You already did, I said, so now it doesn't work. She blinked. I stood up, leaving a few bills on the table for my coffee I hadn't touched. I'll be in touch through Patel, I said. Lila's voice rose suddenly, loud enough for nearby tables. Wait, you can't just walk away. We're not done. I didn't turn back. As I walked out, I caught her pulling her phone up, framing my back like she could capture the moment and use it later. But the moment she didn't capture was the one that mattered. The moment her eyes followed me to the door, and for the first time, I saw uncertainty. Not remorse, uncertainty. Outside, my phone buzzed. Owen. He's calling everyone. Like a man drowning. He's scared. I stared at the text. Then I drove toward 1810 Broad. Not to start a fight, to end one. I parked across the street from 1810 Broad and watched the lobby through the glass. People came and went in coats and scarves, carrying briefcases, sipping lattes, living ordinary lives inside expensive architecture. Grant's building looked like a monument to control. At 6:08, I saw him. Grant stepped into the lobby with two people in business attire flanking him. One held a tablet, the other held a folder. HR. Grant's face was tight, jaw locked like he was chewing nails. Then he saw me across the street. Our eyes met through the glass and distance. His expression changed. Not anger, not smugness. Fear. He turned away quickly, as if pretending I wasn't there could erase me. I didn't move. I just watched. A minute later, he vanished into the elevator. I exhaled slowly. This was it. This was the machine working. But Lila wasn't going to let it work without her hands on the wheel. My phone rang. Lila. I didn't answer. She called again, then again, then again. I muted it. Then a text. Lila. Grant says you're going to regret this. Then? Lila. Stop. Please. I stared at that last word. Please. Not because she cared, because she was losing control of the narrative, and panic makes people polite. I texted back one line. Me. Move out by Friday, 5 p.m. Keys on the counter. Any further contact goes through counsel. I sent it and watched the delivered checkmark appear. For the first time since 11:03 p.m., the night she walked in, I felt something close to peace. Then my phone buzzed with a new notification. Unknown. Number. This is Dana Hall, Grant's wife. We need to talk. My throat went dry. Grant hadn't just been cheating, he'd been building a bomb under his own life, and now the fuse had reached the door. Dana Hall chose a coffee shop near the river, the kind with soft music and white walls and chairs that made you sit up straight. She arrived exactly on time. Dana was tall, calm, and dressed in simple clothes that didn't try to impress anyone. Her face looked like it had gone through something and come out sharper. She sat across from me and placed her phone on the table. I got an email, she said, from HR, and then I got a message from a stranger named Owen who said I should check my husband's parking garage footage. Her voice didn't shake. That scared me more than yelling would have. I'm sorry, I said. Dana held up a hand. Don't apologize for telling the truth, she replied. Apologize for thinking I didn't already suspect. She opened her phone and showed me a photo. Grant and Lila in the garage, the same timestamp. Dana's mouth tightened. He told me he was in a late meeting, she said. He told me I was paranoid. She looked up at me. Your wife is Lila? Yes, I said. Dana nodded once. I looked her up, she said. She posts quotes about loyalty. A bitter smile flickered and vanished. What do you want from me? I asked. Dana's eyes held mine. I want to know what you're going to do, she said, because HR called me in. They asked if I knew anything about a pattern. A pattern? I repeated. Dana leaned forward. There are other women, she said, not just your wife, interns, assistants, consultants. He collects them like trophies, and he gets rid of them when they become inconvenient. I felt my stomach twist. Dana continued, still calm. I'm not here to beg you to stop. I'm not here to defend him. I'm here because I'm deciding what kind of person I am, and I need to know what kind of person you are, I swallowed. I'm not trying to get money, I said. I'm not trying to blackmail anyone. I filed a factual complaint. I'm divorcing my wife. That's it. Dana studied me. And if your wife tries to spin it? She asked. She will, I said. She's already trying. Dana nodded like she'd expected that. Then she did something I didn't expect. She slid an envelope across the table. This is a copy of our prenup, she said, and a letter from our accountant about discretionary spending patterns. Not fraud, not crime, just proof he lies. I stared at the envelope. Why are you giving me this? I asked. Dana's eyes stayed steady. Because I want him to face consequences, she said, and because I don't want your wife to walk away thinking she married power. She married rot. I hesitated, then took the envelope. Dana stood. If HR asks, I'll cooperate, she said. If your wife contacts me, I won't be kind. She paused, then added softer. I'm sorry for you. Not because you got cheated on. Because you married someone who enjoys cruelty. She left. I sat there holding the envelope like it was radioactive. Outside, the river moved, indifferent. I looked down at my hands and realized they were steady. That's when I knew something was changing in me, not healing, hardening. Before I met Dana, I'd spent a week imagining what Grant's wife would be like. Dana was neither. After she left, I sat in my car with her envelope on my lap. The city didn't care. That helped. I drove straight to Patel's office. He took the envelope, skimmed the contents, and nodded slowly. This helps, he said, but we use it carefully. I don't want to be accused of coordinating, I said. Patel's eyes lifted. You're learning, he replied. Good. He pointed at the spending letter. This is not a crime report, he said. It's context. HR will care about patterns of misconduct and abuse of authority. The board will care about liability. Your divorce case will care about credibility. He tapped his pen once. We don't send this as leverage. We send it as corroboration. Clean, I said. Clean, Patel confirmed. As I signed another stack of documents, response to the protective order petition, divorce filing papers, a request to formalize communication through counsel, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then it buzzed again. I let it go. Third time. Patel glanced at it. Answer if you want, he said. But if it's them, keep it short. I put it on speaker and answered. This is Grant, the voice said immediately, stripped of smoothness. Don't call me, I replied. Listen, he said, fast, like he was chasing the words. I can fix this. We can make it go away. Patel's eyebrow lifted. He mouthed, Don't engage. What do you mean by fix? I asked, calm. Grant inhaled hard. HR is overreacting, he said. This is a private matter. Your wife is unstable. She pushed it. If you tell them it was a misunderstanding... A misunderstanding is a wrong lunch order, I said. This was a choice. Grant's voice sharpened. Do you want money? He snapped. Because I can... No, I said. Don't say that again. There was a beat of silence. Then Grant's voice dropped, dangerous and tired. You're enjoying this, he said. You're a little man who finally got a button to press. I looked at Patel. Patel shook his head once. End it. Do not contact me again, I said. Any further communication goes through counsel. I hung up. Patel exhaled. Good, he said. He offered money. That's useful if he tries to paint you as the aggressor. My stomach churned. I didn't record it, I said. Patel nodded. In this state, you can't secretly record without consent, he said. But your phone logs still show the call, and if he emails, that's even better. I signed the last page. Patel gathered the documents into neat stacks like he was stacking sandbags before a flood. You're going to get pressure, he said. From her, from him, from mutual friends, from people who want the story to be simpler than the truth. What's the truth? I asked. Patel looked at me, calm and clinical. The truth, he said, is that your wife expected you to explode, and you didn't, so now she's running out of angles. As I stood to leave, Patel added one more thing. If she shows up again, he said, don't argue, don't negotiate. Call it in, keep the incident numbers, keep the paper trail. Paper trail. I walked outside and felt the cold air hit my face like a slap. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed with a new message from Owen. Owen, HR asked me to write a formal statement about the garage. He did shove you. It's on camera. They asked for the timestamp. I stared at the message. Then I realized something that made my mouth go dry. Lila didn't know about Owen. She didn't know the building had witnesses who didn't like her. She didn't know the story she'd tried to write had other authors, and when she found out, she was going to panic. The question was, what panic would make her do? Friday came. At 4:43 p.m., I stood outside my apartment building with Mark and a small moving cart. I wasn't going inside alone. Patel's instructions were clear. Witnesses. The lobby smelled like wet coats and cheap air freshener. The holiday wreath on the front door had lost 2 pine needles. Lila was supposed to be out by 5. At 4:51, she texted. Lila, can we talk? Just us? I didn't reply. At 4:55, a black SUV pulled up outside. Grant's SUV. My jaw tightened. Mark murmured, That him? Yep, I said. Grant stepped out, jaw set, eyes wild. Lila stepped out after him, clinging to his arm like a lifeline. They walked into the lobby together like they were arriving at a party. Lila saw me and froze. Grant didn't freeze. He walked straight toward me, stopping too close. You think you're clever, he said, voice low. Mark stepped between us slightly. Back up, he said. Grant ignored him and stared at me. HR suspended me, he hissed. They're talking termination. My wife is leaving. You did that. I told the truth, I said. Grant's face tightened. You think truth is free? He snapped. Lila grabbed his arm. Grant, stop, she whispered, but she looked at me with hatred, like she'd poured all her panic into that one expression. You ruined everything, she said. I met her eyes. You confessed proudly, I replied. This is what proud costs. Lila's voice rose, too loud for the lobby. He's threatening us, she said, looking around for an audience. No one was watching. The doorman had stepped away. The elevator dinged, empty. Grant took a step closer again, hands flexing. I held my phone up, screen lit, camera pointed. I'm recording, I said, clear. Grant's eyes flicked to the phone. His breath hitched. Lila's face changed. For the first time, she looked trapped, because the camera wasn't hers this time. Caleb, she said, voice suddenly sweet. Please, don't do this. We can work something out. Work something out meant give me control back. I shook my head. Keys, I said. Lila's smile faltered. What? Keys on the counter, I repeated. Like I said, Grant scoffed. You don't own her, he said. You can't order her around. I'm not ordering her, I said. I'm setting a deadline. Lila's eyes flashed. You can't kick me out. I can't if you're on the lease, I said. But you're not. Remember your vibe? The color drained from her face. Grant stared at her. You're not on the lease? He asked. Lila looked at him too late. Grant's expression shifted, like a man realizing he'd bought a house built on sand. That's fine, Lila said quickly, too quickly. We'll get another place. Grant cut her off. You told me you had everything handled, he said. She grabbed his arm harder. I do. I just... Grant's phone buzzed. He looked down. His face went slack. Then he looked at me. You sent my wife, he said. I didn't, I replied. She found the truth. Grant's jaw clenched. His eyes went to the elevator like he was calculating escape routes. Lila turned to me again, voice cracking. Stop, she said. Just stop. You're enjoying this. I considered lying. Then I told the truth. A little, I said. That hit her like a slap. Her mouth opened, and no sound came out for a second. Mark breathed out slowly beside me. Grant's phone buzzed again. And again. And again. He didn't answer. He looked like a man who knew the next call would change his life. Lila's phone buzzed too, in a rapid series. Her face lit up with notification after notification. She looked down. Her eyes widened. Then she looked at me, horror blooming. What did you do? She whispered. I didn't answer, because I hadn't done anything new. I'd simply let the truth reach the people who mattered. Grant's world was collapsing, and Lila was still holding his arm, not realizing she was clinging to a sinking ship. Lila stumbled toward the elevator, dragging Grant like he was luggage. Come on, she hissed. We'll get my things. We'll leave. Grant yanked his arm free. No, he snapped. I'm not going upstairs. I'm not stepping into a room with you and him and a camera. Lila's eyes burned. Then what? You're just going to abandon me? Grant's laugh was harsh. You don't even live here, he said. The words landed like a punch. Lila's face twisted. You said... I said what you wanted to hear, Grant replied. That's what you do too, right? She stared at him, stunned. For one heartbeat, they looked at each other and saw themselves. Two people who loved control more than love. Grant's phone buzzed again. He glanced down, then went pale. He finally answered. Dana. Whatever she said on the other end, I didn't hear, but I saw Grant's shoulders sag like someone had cut the strings. He swallowed hard. Yes, he said. Yes, I understand. He hung up and stared at the floor. Lila whispered, What is it? Grant looked at her like she was a stranger. They fired me, he said. Silence. Even the building's heater seemed to hush. Lila's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No, she whispered. No, that's not... Grant shook his head. Effective immediately, he said. Security is escorting me out. HR is on the way. Lila's hands fluttered, searching for something to grab. My arm, Grant's jacket, the air. This is your fault, she snapped at me, desperation turning to venom. You did this. I stepped back, keeping space, keeping clean hands. You did this when you walked in and bragged, I said. When you tried to frame me, when you thought cruelty was a sport. Lila's eyes filled, not with tears, not yet, with fury. You think you're better than me? She hissed. I looked at her. Really looked. No, she wasn't crying. She was calculating. She leaned toward the lobby camera as if it might save her. Then she turned and raised her voice, loud and shaky. He's harassing me, she shouted. He's stalking me, Mark said flat. Ma'am, you showed up here. Lila snapped her head toward him. Shut up. I kept my voice calm. Lila, stop, I said. I'm recording. There are cameras. Don't make this worse. She laughed, brittle. Oh, so now you care about evidence. She stepped toward me, close, too close. You want the truth? She said. I cheated because you made it easy, because you never fought for me, because you're boring. And boring men deserve to be replaced. I felt something inside me shift. An old urge to prove, to plead, to defend. I let it pass. I don't care why you cheated, I said. I care what you did after. You enjoyed it. Her lips trembled. So what? You're a monster now. I smiled, small. No, I said. I'm just awake. The elevator dinged. 2 security officers stepped out. Owen was with them, clipboard in hand, face set. Grant flinched when he saw them. One officer spoke to Grant. Mr. Hall, we need you to come with us. Grant swallowed. Yes, he said, voice thin. Lila grabbed his sleeve. Grant, don't leave me, she whispered. Grant looked at her hand on his sleeve like it was a stain. He peeled her fingers off, one by one. I never promised you forever, he said. Then he walked toward the security officers. Lila stood frozen, hands hanging at her sides, watching the man she'd bet on walk away like she was nothing. Owen glanced at me, just once. Then he looked away. In the sudden quiet, Lila's phone buzzed again. She looked down and stiffened. What? I asked, not because I cared, but because her face changed so fast it was almost funny. She swallowed. The joint savings, she whispered. It's not letting me transfer. I didn't respond. Her eyes widened as she tried again, tapping frantically. It says the card's canceled, she breathed. Mark murmured. You told her? I nodded. Lila looked up at me, panic finally cracking through. You can't do this, she said, voice breaking. I have bills. You have Grant, I said. She laughed, a strangled sound. He's gone. I tilted my head. Then you have yourself. Lila's face twisted. You think you can just walk away clean? I'm not clean, I said. I'm careful. She took a step toward me, then another, fast, like she might actually swing now. Mark moved, blocking. Don't, Mark warned. Lila stopped, breathing hard. Her gaze jumped from Mark to me to the lobby cameras. She was cornered by reality. And that's when she did the last thing she had left. She ran, not away, toward the street, toward my car. I moved too, instinct snapping in. Outside, cold air slapped my face. Lila was already at my driver's side door, yanking the handle like she could rip the car apart with anger. Open it, she screamed. Talk to me. I kept my distance. Lila, stop, I said, voice loud enough for witnesses. I'm asking you to stop. She spun on me, eyes wild. You ruined me. I walked to the other side of the car, keys in my hand. Lila rushed around the hood, trying to cut me off. For a second, it felt like a chase scene from a movie, but it wasn't dramatic. It was just 2 people in a parking lot, breath steaming, the world watching from behind glass. Lila lunged. Her heels slipped on the icy curb. She went down hard, palms hitting the pavement. She looked up at me, stunned, like gravity had betrayed her too. I unlocked the car, got in, and started the engine. Through the windshield, I watched her scramble to her feet, limping toward the passenger side. She slapped the window with her palm. Caleb, You can't just leave. I rolled the window down an inch. Cold air cut through. I already did, I said. Her face twisted. You'll regret this, she hissed, but her voice was shaking now. You'll end up alone. I looked at her and felt something that wasn't pity, exactly. It was distance. I was alone the moment you walked in smiling, I said. I'm just finally admitting it. Behind her, the lobby doors opened. The security officers were escorting Grant toward a waiting car. Grant didn't look back. Lila looked too, saw it, and something in her broke. Not into tears, but into a hollow emptiness. I put the car in drive. Lila stood there, frozen, watching the last door close. I drove away without speeding, without drama, the tires crunching over salt and grit. And for the first time in years, the silence inside my chest felt like space now, instead of a cage.